Sitting before us is Richard A. Taylor, where the A stands for about to embarrass himself. Richard is quite possibly the most shameless race hustler on YouTube. He furthers every lie, propagates all misinformation. You've seen him in my videos before, but this time he's going to stretch his credibility beyond its elastic limit with hilarious results. You see, there's this book he's read. Well, you'll have to watch the rest of my video. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With cold, blunt analysis cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's time for the Johnny Walker Dread Show.
Take her away, Richard. And by that I mean lie like a dog.
I saw this video, somebody sent it to me, and this is an example of the white delusion, the right dereliction of mind for people who say things like this. Just listen to this guy talking about this case real quick, and I can't listen to too much. This is all I saw of this video, and I had to turn it off.
Boy, this video must be really rank that he's going to play now. Probably racist, white supremacist, uses profane language, makes fun of minorities. I mean, he can't even listen to it. He had to turn it off. It was that bad.
Fair use, by the way. This video is used for commentary and educational purpose. Just listen to this guy.
Educational purposes. Oh boy. And by the way, Richard, you don't have to announce fair use. If it's fair use, it's fair use, regardless of whether you claim it or not.
Decades of justifying and excusing criminality have led us to a point where people who commit blatant first-degree murder are celebrated. Around 10 o'clock.
All right, so you hear what
Wait, that is what you could not listen to anymore because it was so rank, so disgusting?
he said? I'm going to replay it one more time. Fair use. Fair use.
We heard it the first time, dude. It's not like Walsh is hard to understand, unlike you. And again, you don't have to announce fair use.
Decades of justifying and excusing criminality have led us to a point where people who commit blatant first-degree murder are celebrated. Around 10 o'clock.
All right. So he says decades of excusing criminality has brought us to the point where people who commit blatant, outright, cold-blooded unalivement are celebrated.
Yes, celebrated. For example, Ryan Hinton Jr., which was what your video is all about, is being celebrated because he went out and murdered a cop who was not even involved in his son's death. He murdered the cop at random. And you think it's a great thing. And don't tell me you don't, because you clearly do.
Oh, so he must don't know about Daniel Penny. He must don't know about Kyle Rittenhouse. He must don't know about Darren Wilson. He must don't know about the officer who killed Tamir Rice.
He probably does, but he also is smart enough to know that Daniel Penny was acquitted by a jury who saw everything on video. They saw everything. They heard from witnesses that were there at the scene. All of them said self-defense. Any reasonable person, which excludes Richard, could see the obvious self-defense in the case of Kyle Rittenhouse. He's literally being chased by the person he shot. Again, all 12 members of the jury saw everything on video. Again, they heard from numerous eyewitnesses. The accused even took the stand. All 12 said self-defense. Darren Wilson? Anyone that has had done even a modicum of research, which excludes Richard, knows that Michael Brown was 100% at fault for his own death. The whole hands up, don't shoot mantra was invented by Brown's friend Dorian Johnson and was a total lie. I have read the eyewitness testimony from the grand jury report. If you had bothered to read it, you'd agree too. Well, actually, you wouldn't, because you cannot be convinced. Tamir Rice's shooting was unfortunate, but Tamir took the orange cap off his toy gun and then pointed it at police. And who made the cop a hero? I doubt even 1% of MAGA could even tell you his name. I can't.
He must don't know about all of these officers who've taken black lives without warrant, that have been paid without administrative leave, raised hundreds of thousands of dollars. Daniel Penny got invited to the White House. All of these white people who take lives that has committed outright blatant murder
They didn't have a problem with it then because they knew the facts surrounding the cases. Rittenhouse, not a cop, didn't shoot black people, and he clearly acted in self-defense. Daniel Penny, not a cop. His claim of self-defense was obviously strong enough to sway a jury. Darren Wilson was absolutely in the right, and you won't win that argument. And Tamir Rice, no one made a hero out of the cop. I find it sick as hell that you're trying to use those cases to justify your making of a hero out of Ryan Hinton Jr. The man killed a cop who did nothing wrong and wasn't involved in his son's death. To go out and kill a random cop by hitting him with your car when he doesn't have an inkling that his life is in danger is cowardly. You're making him a hero because you have an intense hatred of white people, especially cops, and you glorify violence.
And have been celebrated. Oh, you didn't have a problem then. This is the dereliction that I'm talking about. This is what we're talking about. You don't have a problem then, but our brother, Rodney Hinton Jr. is the result of decades of excusing criminality and outright murder.
Rodney Hinton Jr. is a result of decades of excusing criminality and outright murder. Rodney got mad because his son was shot by police. So he went out and murdered a random police officer. Explain how Rodney, the father, was the result of excusing criminality and murder. How does that logic work?
I gotta go, man, but I just had to bring this information because once again, our brother is innocent until proven guilty. Many people say that the gun was even planted. We've seen police plant throwaway guns, i.e. Walter Scott down there in South Carolina. So all of you say that oh no, we police, no, they will never do nothing wrong.
Walter Scott? Really? There was no gun involved in the Walter Scott shooting, other than the police officers. Yes, the video seems to make it look like the police officer dropped something by the body, but the police officer never claimed that Walter Scott had a gun, and no gun was ever recovered at the site. So again, the misinformation, it just exudes from this man. And he's got half of his followers, well, all of his followers, believing that a cop dropped a gun by the body of Walter Scott to frame him, even though, no, didn't happen.
Come on, man, I got a book about it. It's called Blue Lights in My Rear View, the history of the police brutality, misconduct, criminality of the police.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. He may have me on this one. I thought I was well read, but he's got a book on this topic and it must be pretty dang good. I mean, it's probably well researched, thoroughly cited. I don't know where he found it, but I might want to go online and get a copy of it because I want to be well informed, just like Richard. So I went online and found it. Blue Lights in My Rear View. I'm going to have to get a copy of... Wait. This thing is authored by Richard A. Taylor. It's his own book. Man, he really brought the receipts to support his argument. He wrote this in 2021 and it has 0 reviews. Okay. Not exactly a bestseller. Okay, so now it turns out that Richard has provided us a free sample of his book. It's the introduction, and I'm telling you, it's a hoot. So we're going to go ahead and read it here from Blue Lights in My Rear View. The Algerian font, really? Oh, come on. So here's the introduction. And I had a hard time blowing this thing up to make it viewable. So what I did was I transcribed it into Word, turned on the dictation machine, and created a video out of it. So let's go there. Okay, and so here we go. Now it starts out a little slow, but the horror, brutality, and struggle are going to come here pretty soon. So stay tuned.
I remember like it was yesterday.
I remember like it was yesterday. It was a dark and stormy night. Don't do this. Don't start off your books with the cliche.
I may have been 9 or 10 years old. It was a regular Saturday morning for me and my sisters. Chores in the morning were followed by a little recreation before having to be at youth choir rehearsal at 12 o'clock. From Taylor Street, our residence, to our church was only a 5-minute drive. My mom rounded up my sisters and me and set out on the short trip to the church. This morning would be different from the rest and change my perception of the world.
Holy crap. What the hell happened to him? This sounds serious.
We arrived at the church early and noticed everyone standing outside instead of inside the sanctuary.
Seeing people standing outside the church? I mean, the question that would come to me is, who died?
Apparently, the deacon that normally let everyone in was absent, and the doors were locked.
Oh.
My father was superintendent of Sunday school and usually the first to arrive on Sundays. My mother knew he had a set of keys at home. I, my mother, and another friend rushed from the church back to our house to retrieve the keys. On the way back, my mother drove down Harris Street faster than normal.
I see a horrible accident forthcoming. I bet the police caused it, or they somehow failed to bring the guilty party to justice because racist.
Harris Street eventually turned into Bunch Drive, which led to John Street where the church stood. On Bunch was a hill sloping downward. At the top of the hill sat a police car on an intersecting street as my mother passed. Neither I nor my mother saw the law enforcement officer. It was not until we reached the end of Bunch Drive, a block away from our destination, did we notice the blue lights flashing in the rearview mirror.
Oh man, it's getting scary. It's going to get serious.
My mother pulled over immediately. Exasperation, worry, and scorn filled her now rattled demeanor. "Oh shoot," she exclaimed while we waited for the officer to approach. What? Was I speeding?
I don't think she used the word shoot.
I know I wasn't going that fast. I hope I don't get a ticket. She pleaded out loud to no one in particular.
I'm not sure what horrors lie in wait next, but getting a ticket will be the least of her worries, if you can even imagine how she could live through this experience.
"Ma'am, let me see your license and registration," the white policeman commanded as he reached the window.
Oh man, a white policeman. Oh, this is going to get gruesome.
"All right, I have it right here. Just give me a second," my mother stated while searching nervously for her purse. Then she reached inside the glove compartment and handed both documents to the officer. "Well, the reason why I stopped you is because I clocked you doing 37 miles per hour coming down the hill. The speed limit is only 25 here. Where are you in such a rush to?"
You can tell by the cop's words that he's just itching to smear some black blood on the pavement.
"I'm sorry, sir. I didn't know I was going that fast. I was just trying to get back to my church and let the children in. I had to go get the keys from my house because someone didn't show up. I was rushing because we are supposed to start at 12 o'clock sharp, and it's almost that time now."
Wait, you were only a block away from the church. You had to have spent at least a few minutes sitting on the side of the road. It isn't noon yet. It sounds like you would have been there in plenty of time.
"Okay, Mrs. Taylor, just hold up here a minute. I'll be back shortly," the man responded coldly with no regard for my mother's explanation.
Gee, it's almost as if the cops have heard this "I'm late for church" excuse before. What you should have said was that your dog got out. Cops have never heard that one before.
I waited in uncomfortable silence as the officer returned to his cruiser. My mother, now visibly distraught, voiced her concern over the possibility of receiving a ticket, as well as being late to open church.
Like, what the hell was going to happen to your congregation if the church is opened a few minutes late? Is Peter at the pearly gates going to look through his records and say, "Punctuality, solid"? Wait, what's with this church service starting at 12:05 crap?
I sat helplessly listening to her plead her case to the absent official.
Helpless.
"I haven't had a ticket in years. I was just trying to get back to the church on time. He was just sitting there parked, waiting on someone. Why did he have to stop me?"
You were speeding. Answer question. I mean, you kind of ratted out on your own mother. Remember when you said, "On the way back, my mother drove down Harris Street faster than normal"? Next time, keep your big mouth shut. Until now, this looks like an ordinary traffic stop. But what will take place next will compel Richard Taylor to examine police brutality against black men.
"I haven't had a ticket in years. I was just trying to get back to the church on time. He was just sitting there parked, waiting on someone. Why did he have to stop me? The police officer reemerged with yellow and pink slips of paper. He informed my mother she would be charged with going 34 miles per hour in a 25 miles per hour zone. Shaking her head, my mother signed both papers and took her copy. I sense her holding back tears all the while during the 30-second ride to the church.
She got a ticket? That is what drove Richard Taylor to take up the cause of BLM? This is the traumatic experience that compelled him to write his book? If my brother wrote a book for every ticket he got, he'd be Louis L'Amour.
Choir rehearsal was usually a jovial occasion. This day, it was a bit more somber as I thought of this prior situation. How could a police officer cause so much stress and strain on my pure, loving, caring, and kind mother?
No, your pure, loving, caring, and kind mother. Gee, it's almost like a ticket can ruin someone's day. Well, I wouldn't know. As a white person, cops will never give me a speeding ticket. So his mom got a speeding ticket. What's worse, she was trying to get to church. So get out your protest sign, pick up your megaphone, bang your tambourine, say her name, say her name.
Why couldn't he show her leniency under the circumstances? I mean, it wasn't like she was a hardened criminal.
There it is. Instead of leaning on a "I'm late to church" excuse, what she should have asked the police officer was, "Why aren't you going after real criminals?" A cop once told me that whenever someone asks him that, he doesn't know what to say. He just closes up his ticket book and walks off. It's a cop's kryptonite.
This was the first time that I felt disdain or contempt for police officials in my young life, but it would certainly not be the last. While doing the research for the previous incident,
Research on his mom getting a ticket.
I asked my mother was that the only time she ever got a ticket. In response, she said that there was one other instance before that involving similar conditions.
So she got 2 tickets in her life, not just one. Now, one would be easy to ignore, but 2? That has racist cops written all over it. It's like the cops are serial ticket writers, and she's their perpetual victim.
While traveling on the same Harris Street, she came to a stoplight on the corner of Slocum Street. She then made a right and headed north on Slocum toward Ash Street. When she made a right turn on Mulberry, she was pulled over by a police officer. He stated that the reason as her failure to completely stop at the light on Slocum a mile back. My mother's question about the incident today has echoed many other sentiments over the years.
Man, terrible, horrible. She got a ticket for not coming to a complete stop. Now, at this point, Richard is going to ask some hard-hitting questions that cops were secretly hoping that no one would ever ask.
Why did you wait so long to stop me? Why didn't you stop me when I first made the infraction? I would ask the same question of officers years later on the same street. In my years of experiences, my questions have gotten a lot deeper.
Deeper. Those 2 questions we just mentioned were shallow. Richard is now going to dig deeper, embarking on profound inquiries that will uncover the true root causes of social injustice. Are you ready for this?
Why did you stop me in the first place?
Because it's easier than stopping you in the second place.
Why did you turn your vehicle around when you saw me?
Because it's hard to pull you over if we're traveling in opposite directions.
Why did you run my license tags if I didn't do anything wrong?
Because I felt like it.
What did I do to make you follow me for all this time?
Break the law. Yeah, cops never hear these questions. No, these are profound, deep questions that Richard has concocted as investigative tools.
In the small town of Goldsboro, North Carolina, where I was raised, occurrences like these are all too common.
Yeah, this only happens in Goldsboro. I mean, come on. There isn't a city in the U.S. where the residents don't say, "Man, the cops around here are ticket winches."
There have always seemed to be a deep-rooted tension between the police and the Black residents. In a town where the population is roughly 50% Black and 50% white, there is a disparity in the racial diversity of law enforcement.
I've got news for you. The Black police officers won't treat you any differently. If you don't believe me, ask Tyree Nichols. Oh, wait, you can't.
There are only 20% Black officers in this city. The majority white police force must patrol a majority Black neighborhood, people they don't know, have no connection to, and in most cases, don't understand. This is a recipe for disaster. This situation is not only reserved for Goldsboro, North Carolina. This problem exists across the United States, from small town USA to big cities like Los Angeles, New York, Miami, and Chicago. Law enforcement normally police communities they don't live in and rarely visit.
Trust me, most law enforcement probably visit the cities they patrol quite often, like every day when they go to work. Because the last time I looked, there's not a lot of virtual options for police work. And by the way, just say from Muddyboggy Creek, Oklahoma to Chicago, Illinois. That's all you had to mention, just 2.
This is one reason for the all too frequent ill-fated interactions between police and citizens. On the receiving end of these encounters is the Black man. Since the inception of police forces, we have always been their target.
Always been their target? Dude, the cop gave the ticket to your mother. The impetus to write your book was a couple of tickets given to a Black female.
As a youth, I constantly heard that 1 in 3 Black men will end up in jail.
Here's my philosophy. If 1 in 3 Black men break the law, then throw 1 in 3 Black men in jail. And that goes for white people too. If some white dude beats up his wife, throw his ass in jail so long that when he's released, all his clothes will be out of style. Because I don't claim him. I'm not going to call him brother. You're not going to see me looting a store just because you locked his sorry ass in jail or even shot him. Don't care about him. He's a thug. Worthless. Not one of mine.
Today, there are more Black men entangled in the legal system than there are in college and that were enslaved at the end of slavery. Most staggeringly, Black men are nearly 3 times more likely to be killed by law enforcement than their white counterparts.
Sorry, but I gotta say it. Black men are nearly 3 times more likely than white men to do something stupid to get themselves killed. And they're 3 times more likely to do something stupid because they listen to the race hustlers like you and Rashad Ritchie and Benjamin Crump. Act like anyone else would, and the chances of you being hurt are practically 0. I can almost guarantee you that if you ran the numbers, you would find that Black youth, when confronted by police, are 3 times more likely to jump out of a car with a handgun, even though that's a stupid thing to do. All this commotion over the police shooting of Black men is extremely misleading. Black Harvard professor Roland Fryer ran the statistics, and it turns out that once a person encounters the police during a stop, their chances of being shot are about the same no matter the race. Why? Because the vast, vast majority of Black men are reasonable people who don't do stupid things to get themselves shot. It's only the tiny minority of dumbasses like Ryan Hinton that make the headlines.
Throughout history, one can follow the trail of this complex relationship between Black men and the long arm of the law. With the abolition of slavery, the slave codes were instituted after the 13th Amendment was passed. This allowed for slavery to continue if a person was convicted of a crime. It was then that Black men were targeted by police for all sort of offenses and given large prison sentences, providing free labor on chain gangs. Enter the Jim Crow and segregation eras where Black men were again targeted, marginalized, dehumanized, and criminalized by the laws and law enforcers of the land. The Ku Klux Klan, which was nothing but police, judges, senators, prosecutors, and sheriffs in disguise.
Wait, are you saying that the Ku Klux Klan comprised mostly highly educated individuals? Really? Okay, I'm going to stop there. I think you get the picture. So is his book worth anything? Oh, hell no. He thinks Kyle Rittenhouse shot black people. I mean, how misinformed do you have to be to think that? Richard's tales of woe are prime examples of the problem with perception. In Richard's view, when you're black, police pull you over and give you tickets, even in cases where they could just let you go. And from his viewpoint, he can't see it ever happening to white people. That's white privilege to him. And this problem with perception permeates all of the race hustlers' worldviews. They see an unarmed black man getting shot by the police and they think this can't happen to white people, but it does. You just never hear about them because no one wants to tell you about them. And this gross selection bias is driving the world insane. Richard, you need to write books on subjects you know something about. Although I can't imagine what that would be. Like my video and subscribe to my channel.